Perpendicular commission wagering has been outlawed in Kimo City. The populace is reeling. This was their only outlet. Wholesale child slaughter had been outlawed 6 months earlier, and this rather innocuous practice had gained popularity among the people. It was a simple game. Wagers are placed as to which government official would be up for review, and therefore facing reinstatement, undignified dismissal, or forced resignation. Although rather innocent on the surface, a small underground economy and political party had begun to emerge from this form of entertainment. This worried the overseers and delegates of Kimo City. Kimo City, of course, being a less than desirable outpost to begin with. Only the least emergent and least interesting statisticians were sent here. After all, Kimo City was a tainted zone full of the dead and the dying. Anyone, basically, with a literal or metaphorical death sentence was placed here in what was formerly Baltimore. Murderers cold-mingled with terminal AIDS patients. A grandmother with Alzheimer's holding up against a hepatitis sufferer. In some circles, Kimo City was seen as a human petri dish, a sort of worst-case scenario for humanity. So there was a lot of interest in how well the residents of the city dealt with this kind of constant and unyielding bombardment of pain and suffering. Surprisingly, after a period of attrition that lasted 3 to 4 weeks, a sort of unspoken order began to appear. There were many casualties in those weeks, and the cleanup became a way for the surviving population to rally around a common out of sheer necessity. The unwanted of Kimo City saw more than 4,000 burials, complete with ad hoc funeral processions, which many times ended in wild orgies. It was not an uncommon sight to see a delirious senior citizen in the throes of dementia, fucking a half-insane colon cancer terminal case. Residents of Kimo City were allowed to make the rules according to the governing principle of all their lives, their mortality. So far from the simple declaration, public sex was now a common and abided by practice. It could in fact be ignored as you would ignore someone sucking down a hose as complacency set in. The people of Emo City had to find newer and better ways to attain a form of transcendence, which came pro forma in the growing city, as some of this fucking ended in actual births. This presented a whole new set of circumstances for Kivonians. In a city rotting, stinking of imminent death, where someone died every 8.6 seconds from complications, suicide, or self-murder. Self-murder was a practice allowed under the Chemo City Charter. You were allowed to request death at the hands of any Chemo City resident without interference from authority. What was to be done with the prospect of new life, of new hope? At first, the residents of Kilo City neither discussed nor acknowledged that anything of the sort was occurring. Reports from local medical facilities confirmed that there had been a number of births within the city limits. Statisticians were slow to counteract this phenomenon, as most of them attributed to urban myths and nothing more. But then after a few months, some hard evidence began to accumulate that this was happening after all. The statisticians ignored the problem until it became known that not many of these births were followed up with any kind of care for the newborns. After some investigation into the matter, it was discovered that 90 to 95% of these infants were traded in the black market and would somehow end up in adequate accommodations. A very small percentage was actually used as currency and would exchange hands many times before ending up in a landfill somewhere. The statisticians could not let this barbaric practice continue, and sex of any kind was outlawed in Kilo City. This brings us to the current trend of wagering on the fate of the statisticians. This would seem to be victimless and not threatening to anyone but the overseers. The matter was considered carefully, and so it was decided that Kimo City would be neutralized. All the residents, including those born only weeks earlier, whose only crime was birthright, were systematically gassed, burned, bombed, annihilated. No one mourned their deaths. The experiment was considered a success and is now being implemented in Western Africa, Micronesia, and parts of rural Manchuria.